Hey everyone, Anthony One here and welcome to my channel. Recently in the news, a jockey who had been riding in a horse race in Australia fell off a horse in the middle of a race and was crushed by the horse and died almost immediately, I suppose. As a vegan, I was very relieved that this had happened because I thought that the horse was saved, was a good thing, and that the jockey dying was quite novel to me, and I hadn't seen that before. And it was relatively good because I thought it would deter a lot of people from engaging in the horse racing industry and supporting that industry. Now, someone expectedly in the group that I was in, it's the Meet Your Horse Meet is the name of the page, where I commented that I was relieved. I received a couple of bad responses, negative responses from people saying that the death of the jockey was a bad thing. And I want to put this in relative terms. I don't believe the death of the jockey was particularly bad. That's how I feel about it as a vegan. Because the jockey obviously was a carnist who very probably consumed animal products on a regular basis. So his death, to me, indicates was an indication that the lives of thousands of animals would be saved by him not consuming them. Now, this is a very pragmatic and very cold-hearted sort of approach to the topic. And unfortunately, a lot of people disagreed with me, and mostly vegans who were saying that the death of the jockey was a sad thing and something to be mourned about. So let me discuss this. So the Meet Our Horse Meet said, I'm glad that the horse didn't die. However, this guy had 4 young children who will have to grow up without him. It's really shocking for them and his wife. Not a bad point, I guess, but is it harder for animals who are separated from their families on a farm, or is it harder for for the family of 4 children and the wife to keep on existing? We know how hard it is to live these days, but is it as hard as it is for the animals who are going to be slaughtered at a young age? That's my question. Now, for me, in a world where there's so much suffering in the world, where humans are literally slaughtering trillions of animals every week or every month for their consumption and for their own personal pleasure, it's all the suffering that we experience is relative. So my suffering in my life is relative to the suffering of someone living in poverty in Africa, for example, or someone who is living the high life in Paris or something. All this stuff is relative. But they may have other problems of their own. They may have relationship problems, other things. The world is full of suffering, and I think when we realize that, we can put everything into perspective. So I replied to Meet Our Horse Meet, I find this question of being sad about it interesting enough. I invite you to consider the jockey's death will save thousands of animals' lives from being consumed because he's top of the food chain. His death will possibly start a trend in which people are further discouraged from the horse racing industry. I'm not stopping you from being sad about it. I simply ask you to consider the positive consequences. The movie A Few Good Men will elucidate, and remember, like war, horse racing is a blood sport. Now, the problem with not being relative in our assessment of suffering is that you will be kind to everybody indiscriminately. So if Amazon advertises to you, you'll buy their products because you're trying to be kind back to them. If Jeff Bezos advertises his Bezos Earth Fund to you, you will donate to that charity because you think it's a worthy cause and you don't look at the greenwashing involved. If you see the death of the jockey, you will think, oh my God, let's save the jockeys, start a charity, save the jockeys. It's ridiculous to be kind to everybody in the same way. And I've invented a term called ad hominem kindness, which basically advocates for people being kind to other people based on the way that they have been kind to other people back. Now, this is a pragmatic view of the world that I'm trying to incorporate into my life, where we're all kind to each other, but we are most kind to those people who need it the most and who are kind to other people the most, which generates more and more kindness in the most effective way. Now, this poll that I did in Vegan Debate showed that I was the only one who assessed that the death of jockey Dean Holland was a mostly positive event. Most of the people said it was mostly negative, and a couple of people added their own options and said that I was a nitwit and that sort of thing, and that that's why people think vegans are nuts, that sort of thing. And unfortunately, I did feel a bit peeved, but I'm used to that sort of thing, so it didn't harm me too much. But Vegan Debate is quite acerbic and quite negative in their responses to people who try to further the discussion. I didn't meet any F-lists in that Vegan Debate. F-lists are those people who believe that life should not exist at all. But I believe that if I did, those people would be more sympathetic to my views in thinking that the jockey's death was not a hugely important thing, because F-lists particularly view death as a thing that is a consequence of living, and they're more accepting of death. Maybe that's a good thing, and it would be more receptive to my ideals that the jockey's death was not a bad thing in particular. So, how do you feel about the death of jockey Dean Holland? Do you feel that it's newsworthy? Do you feel that it's worth our sympathy? Do you feel that it's not worthy of news at all? Or do you agree with me that it's actually a positive thing for the horse racing, against the horse racing industry in the future? Let me know in the comments and I will get back to you on everything that you comment back to me. Okay, bye for now.